Lesson 8.4, looking at the surface area of a cone. And funny enough, the moving on before next section, you should be able to find the surface area of a cone. Charlie here has got his Movember mustache on. He actually really didn't like that very much. Okay, just a few things. When we say cone, what do we mean? Well, that's the shape, okay? Three-dimensional shape. Think ice cream cone, obviously. And you could think of it as a circular-based prism. Or pyramid, sorry. So it's got a point at the top and it's got a circular in the base, unlike a square-based or a triangular-based. What I was saying prism was a cylinder would be a circular-based prism. So if a cone is a circular-based pyramid, because it comes to a point, and a cylinder is a circular-based prism. Okay? Now one little sort of another piece of language that you need to know is the term lateral surface. And that means that if you took the shape, just the surface, the shape of it, surface area, so to speak, and it would be everything but the bottom part. So it would be the whole top part here. And we talk about lateral surface area, meaning that if you took the top part off a cone and sort of unpeeled it, imagine if you could take an ice cream cone and unpeel it. What would that look like, right? And equation-wise, there is an equation for it that you can find the lateral surface area, which is just the everything but the bottom, and it's pi r s, where s is the slant height, very similar to what we did before. Okay, so height is the height of the cone, r is the radius, and s is the slant height. And I just wanted to show you on your formula sheet here. Here's the cone, and you would have this formula sheet, and that formula is given to you, lateral surface pi r s, okay? And the total surface area of a cone, because this column is surface area, the total surface area is pi r s plus pi r squared, so pi r squared being this base part. Okay? Okay, so there's the equation for surface area of a cone. If you haven't written it down yet, there it is. Okay, find the surface area of this cone. And that's really just applying this formula. Here's the problem. We have h, that's great, but we don't have s. We can't do anything without s. Okay, so this formula for surface area has s in it. So, and this is a very typical thing that you see with these problems, is it makes you do the problem in 2 steps. So the first step is to find s, the second step is to apply this formula. Okay, so you can sort of forget this side for now, but just look here at the left where we find s, and use Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so you have 3 is my radius. If I just took this, right, here's my triangle. 3, 4, and then you have to figure out the s. And this is a nice one, and it's a special triangle, a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And so all I'm doing is saying s squared. I know you know how to do Pythagorean theorem, but that's what you do. You use Pythagorean theorem, you figure that's s is 5. Special triangles, just a side note, are there's a bunch of them, but 3, 4, 5 is a very special one, and anyone who works in construction or architecture uses the 3, 4, 5 triangles all the time. Very sort of structurally sound triangles, if you will. Okay, so once you know your s, now you can use this formula, right? So given this is the grass, right? G-R-A-S-S down here. So that's what I know. So I know my r, I know my s, I want surface area. I'm going to apply this formula. I'm going to substitute in the numbers and state my solution, which of course, as soon as I plug in pi, it's approximate, right? Because pi is so many decimal places. All these questions, and especially as they get harder, I wish you would work along with me, put them through your calculator as we do this, and make sure that you can, right? That you don't run into trouble later on because you didn't know how to put pi in your calculator or something. Okay, moving on. Fix this one. I made 15 centimeters made a terrible dimension for my answer, so make it 6 centimeters instead. And so what this is telling me is the lateral area, so that's the whole outside surface of my cone, is 140 centimeters squared, and my radius is 6. So looking at my givens and everything, it wants me to find the slant height. So I'm given lateral area, and I'm given s. So I want, r, and I want to find s. So here's where I use this formula for the lateral surface, right? I'm not worried about the bottom part, just that lateral area. So I would need to rearrange and solve for s. So what I've done here I plugged in 140 here, right? Pi is the same, r is 6, okay? And then I've got s. So to get s by itself, divide both sides by 6 pi, or pi times 6. Remember, with multiplying, it doesn't matter which way you write it. And that means, and notice that, by the way, on this step I flipped it so the s was on the left. And again, I really suggest you put this in your calculator because you will make mistakes when you do it yourself, okay? But you end up with s is 7.4, approximately 7.4. Okay? So part A, I found the slant height. B, find the height, Pythagorean theorem. Substitute in the numbers, okay? And you find the height of your cone is 4.4. Again, you might need more time. You go ahead and pause the tape. I'm going to keep going. Keep going so we can do the tough one. This one has lots of steps. Okay, so here you got a cone, and it's sitting inside a cylinder. And the radius of the cylinder is 10. We don't know the height of the cylinder. We don't know the slant height of our cone. But we want to find the surface area of the cone. Well, it's difficult because we only know the volume, not the volume of the cone. We know the volume of the cylinder. So we're so many steps away from getting the surface area of the cone. But here's the formula. Let's start with, this is what we want. So to get our answer, we're going to have to take this formula and plug in numbers. Well, we've got r, that's great, okay, because the radius of the cone is the same as that of the cylinder because it just fits, okay? We don't know s. So what steps are we going to do to get s? Well, really, the only way we can do that is by knowing the height, by using Pythagorean theorem, knowing the height, okay, like we did in the last problem. So how do we find the height? This is where you use the volume of the cylinder. And this formula here, pi r squared h, if you go back to your formula sheet for a cylinder, pi r squared h is right there, okay? So again, that's not a formula you have to memorize, it's one that you would know. It's really just understanding what strategy do you follow. So pi r squared h, and we need to find the h, okay? So we go through all the steps. I'll do this, I know that you can sort of follow along. I don't think there's much I need to explain here. I'm just subbing in numbers. Divide both sides by 100 pi to get h by itself, and you end up with h is approximately equal to 9. I'm going fast here. If you need to stop, you go ahead, but I want to keep the tape going so it's not too long. Again, I really think you should try these in your calculator yourself. Now that we know h, we can find s, okay? Pythagorean theorem. I'm going to zip up here, so stop your writing. I'm going to zip up to here. So I know h, I know this is 10, so I need to find s. S is the hypotenuse, right? So s squared is 9 squared plus 10 squared, solve for 13.4 approximately. Now I can plug that into the surface area formula. Again, if I'm going really fast, please pause, okay? And yippee, I subbed it in, got an answer of 412.8, and that's it. Notice we have the given required. I like to see that in these problems when you can, when it makes sense, okay? And again, you should practice, because can you do this and get the same number as me? You should try it right now. But that's today's lesson on surface area of a cone, and pretty much ready to try some problems.